the boat.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino. Good afternoon, you all. A lot of going on here in Kingsland. It has been a very, very busy morning, as you have heard from, or by now, Shams reporting the Kings are open to trading De'Aaron Fox at the trade deadline. We've got a full timeline of this entire, I don't think it's a saga, just a timeline of how we got here. And more importantly, we've got Jerry Reynolds coming on at 2:15. He's going to be joining us to talk about the news that's broke just about an hour ago. I'll let you know what I had been hearing up until this point, and we'll digest it. What does it mean? It doesn't technically mean a lot per se, but at least it gives some clarity, possibly on the direction this team might be going. What do you want to see from this? What's the possible? Is it the trade deadline they try to do it by? Here's what I think. It's the best deal that you can get for De'Aaron Fox. You got him for another year and a half, but enough of what I think. Let's get to the facts. We'll get to the reports. And again, Jerry Reynolds joining us at 2:15 to make sense of this and give you some insight, as only Jerry can give you, from the front office perspective, from the coaching perspective, and much more. Your questions, your calls, we'll talk about it. We had an entire show planned around the game last night, the game coming up in Philly, but today, the news around De'Aaron Fox. On the other side, welcome to the King's Court.
Break it down in Sacktown, we're the crown.
Needs to be more aggressive on the offensive end, but this is the kind of
Williams, the D-line.
Fox. Goodbye. Oh, if you don't like.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Court is in session. Ryan in Sacktown with you on If You Don't Like That. Don't forget, Grant's going to be back tonight at 8 o'clock. I'll probably join him for that show with the news that came out today. We'll be talking everything going on with De'Aaron Fox, with the Kings, with the NBA trade deadline, and certainly your calls, your comments, the game last night we can dig into. Good to see that Foxy was found in Brooklyn. Good performance by him. So welcome in, welcome in. That was going to be the headline of the show until my phone started buzzing about 8:15, 8:30 this morning. And yes, eventually Shams broke what has been broken in the last hour and a half, basically saying the Kings are looking or open to the possibility of trading De'Aaron Fox at the trade deadline. For those that were expecting this at the beginning of the show, my apologies. The sun was behind the laptop again. So I had to reboot on the fly. So here you go.
It's Taco Tuesday!
It's kind of De'Aaron Fox Tuesday. Anyways, we're brought to you by Bennett's Westside Grill in Rockland. 3 locations in all. Go to BennettRestaurants.com. Prime cuts of seafood and steak available for you. We'll talk about them more here in a little bit. And again, if you're just joining the show, Jerry Reynolds, the only place you can find him, right here at 2:15. We're going to talk about this De'Aaron Fox news. And let's just get to it. We're going to mix in your comments right away. The Kings, Shams, reporting that De'Aaron Fox is on or could be part of a deal at the trade deadline. De'Aaron Fox is not untouchable is basically what this report is. It's what it is. Now, The significance of the report dates back, and I want to go back a little bit further. In fact, let's go back to what I put out in June. Said that Fox was not going to be signing an extension, in part because he wanted to see how the team developed. He eventually did an article and did a sit-down interview with Sam Amick right around the start of the season where he confirmed that information. De'Aaron wants to win, right? And so, what did the Kings do in the offseason? They go get DeMar DeRozan. Up until that point, things were a little bit stat. You made some moves here and there, but was DeMar going to be that piece? Mike Brown gets an extension. A lot of reports that De'Aaron did not want a new coach. He confirmed as much in Ramona Shelburne's article on ESPN. The Kings, you can look back at some of their drafting patterns. They've drafted a lot of guards dating back to Halliburton. So whether you can connect dots here or there, one thing we knew was there was an end date on De'Aaron's contract, and a significant one, because if he was to make all NBA, he would be eligible for a Supermax contract. De'Aaron went on the Draymond Green podcast talking about this. This was right around the time the Kings weren't doing well. Tensions were a little bit high. Here's what De'Aaron had to say.
I love the city. Like, I love being here. I've raised my family here. We got our grandparent there, or the kids' grandparents here. Like, I would love to be here and retire here. Play. I mean, how many people can say they played in one organization for their whole career? Like, I want to be a part of that select few people. But at the end of the day, I also want to win. So
you gotta win. Especially where you at.
That's where you make your real money.
You want the elite. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You want that window. You want that chance, man. And, you know, I think you got to put yourself in the best situation at all times, especially when you're in the prime of your career.
I'm coming up on those years. So
yeah,
they know I'm gonna give all I got. But at the end of the day, brother, organization also got to give all they got. So like that's where we are right now.
I respect you.
Okay. Why everyone's saying trade Fox? He's a free agent. No, he's not a free agent. That's been the big discussion on this channel. It's been the big discussion around town. You can't let him. He is under contract until the end of next season. If you got indications that De'Aaron was not going to stick around, that maybe De'Aaron wanted to be somewhere else, then you have to trade him. You can't just let his contract expire and allow him to walk away for free. That is the worst case scenario for this franchise. That is the worst thing that could happen. You lose the face of your franchise, the guy that much has been built around, and you get nothing in return. So no, he is not a free agent. He is not a free agent. He is under contract until the end of next year. BG, I'm so glad you hit up Bennett. Awesome. What'd you have? Did you do the wine and dine special? I'm sure you had a great time. Thanks for letting us know. We'll pass that along to Brian indeed. Okay, so Sam Amick, this was the big one. Source, De'Aaron Fox's agent, Rich Paul of Clutch Sports, recently sent word that it would be wise for the Kings to move De'Aaron now. Even with Fox's preferred destination widely to be San Antonio, Fox's side will remain open to all destinations. There was some word going around that had been sent out. No confirmation. Confirmation evidently came this morning. Dirk is saying that came from Damian Barling. That came from Damian. Good by him. Good by him for reporting that first. Ultimately, Sham put it on the national media. He went on ESPN, did a little hit right there, and announced that. Now, I can confirm San Antonio is the destination that De'Aaron wants to be. That's been out numerous times now, so it's not big news, but San Antonio is the preferred destination. And before we go any further into this, and I'm not sure if there's going to be Fox hate, if there's going to be get him out of town immediately, there's no rush. I want to remind everybody, there is zero rush. You wait for the right deal. Now, the question becomes, what is the right deal? In fact, the complete opposite, in my opinion, of hate should be love. Is love, I should say. But we should be giving love to De'Aaron Fox. We should be giving love to Rich Paul in this sense. They're giving you a heads up 1.5 years before the expiration of the contract. They didn't have to do that. They did not have to do that. They could have kept their mouths shut and left this decision, left this ball in the Kings' court. Whether or not you trade him, whether or not you build around him, whether you move pieces that you think could be important to the puzzle, still trying to improve the roster enough to where De'Aaron can be on a team that contends. That's important to him. I have heard from numerous places that once he got a taste of the playoffs, once he got a taste of it, he really kind of saw the light. This is where I want to be. It's been a grind here in Sacramento. No doubt about that. The burn rate on De'Aaron has been extremely high. Physically, it's taken a toll on his body. Now, in part, is that because he doesn't have better players around him? Maybe, but when you're a star in this league, that's what happens. You're the guy they focus in on. For De'Aaron to go to a team that's better built out, maybe that means he stays a little bit healthier, or whatever quote unquote built out is in his and his agent's mind. Maybe in his eyes, that's what keeps him healthier. I don't know. The bottom line is you've got 1.5 years to handle this. Do I see De'Aaron moving before the deadline? I don't know. Do I see De'Aaron Fox on the opening night roster for next year? Absolutely not. I don't think De'Aaron will be a King by that time. So we're going to get to your chat. We're going to get to your questions. There is a lot to cover here. Sports Central already coming out with some favorites. And for anybody saying Houston, there's some chatter that Houston wants to see what they have right now. They want to ride with it first before they make any significant changes. So that's all that's out in the media. To recap, we're going to read, and Jerry is coming up right here in 2 seconds. We're going to bring Jerry on, and we're going to talk about this. But Kings are listening to trade offers for De'Aaron Fox straight out of The Athletic. De'Aaron Fox's time in Sacramento with the Kings may be nearing an end. The Kings are listening to trade offers for the 27-year-old all-star and are considering moving him before the February 6th trade deadline. A league source says Fox will be a free agent in the summer of 2026, and whose concerns about the Kings were first reported by The Athletic in mid-December. I don't know, Sam. Sam, I kind of June there, but okay, Sam, just kidding. Sam had the report. Reported mid-December, is known to have preferred trade destinations his associates are not yet revealing across the league. San Antonio appears to be the prospect of a Fox pairing with Wembanyama and a likely destination of choice. So that's where we stand. De'Aaron Fox and the Kings possibly looking at a separation. No one better to talk to about this. No one better. He's been the coach. He's been the GM. He is the guy that is just the legend here in Sacramento, the man that we love. And on short notice, I can't thank him enough. Mr. Jerry Reynolds, we're reunited on Jerry Reynolds Tuesday, baby. I love it.
Yeah, well, under some kind of strange kind of circumstances, but great to be with you as always, and the fans, and talk about basketball and the Kings. And
oh, we lost him. He's coming back. Let's get Jerry back on.
Yeah, there. Okay.
There we go.
There we
got
go.
You back, buddy.
Oh, yeah. I thought for a second there, I thought I was by myself. That's scary.
You're going to have to run the show. See if that training kicks in. Well, yeah, thanks again for joining us on short notice. I mean, Jerry, really not a big surprise when you look at the construction of the Kings and you look at the pieces and you wonder if they want to significantly improve. Somebody is probably going to have to be on the trade market. De'Aaron's contract comes up at the end of 2026. So, Jared, when you are in a situation that's being reported like this from a front office perspective, is there any rush? What are you doing right now if you receive word from a player's agent that they would like to be moved?
Well, there's no rush. I mean, basically, your situation, as you pointed out, I mean, he's under contract for another full year after this season. So, you're in a situation where you certainly wouldn't want to lose him as a free agent, because he is probably the top asset that you have. And so, if in fact, it's to your advantage to trade him, and everybody's tradable. I mean, certainly De'Aaron is a terrific young player and has a lot of value to the Kings as well as the league. But, some of the greatest players in the history of the game have been traded. So, and so it's the old thing. If you're the Kings, you certainly don't want to lose him for nothing. If in fact you think he and his agent are kind of pointing to that possibility, you want to get ahead of that curve. And then, of course, it's also a point of like, well, you want to improve your team if you can, and to get. I've always said, I mean, if you want to get a good player, you have to trade good players. It doesn't work in a vacuum. I mean, it's you don't want to. We were talking earlier. I mean, it's like with the Kings years ago. You traded Mitch Richmond to get Chris Webber.
Right.
You traded a multi-all-star to get a guy who became one. You traded Jason Williams, one of the most exciting players, who went on to start on the championship Heat team, to get Mike Bibby. But Mike Bibby made you better, even though he probably wasn't better individually. And then Corliss Williamson, who was Sixth Man of the Year on a world champion, brought you Doug Christie, but Doug fit better and made the team. So just to summarize, if you want to improve your team, you have to trade good players to get good players, and maybe good players that fit better. Simple as that.
Yeah, it's a great point. And from the player perspective, this is a completely different situation than what's going on in Miami. I don't think for most fans we need to draw that line, but how does something like this affect a team in a locker room if your teammates know that maybe you've requested that it's time to move on? Is it business as normal? Do things change a little bit? What's that look like, Jer?
That's a great question. I mean, I think each locker room is probably a little bit different there. Some, it might be a little bit disruptive. I'd be surprised if it's disruptive, because there's been those kind of rumors, going on for a while, especially once De'Aaron changed agents, once he went to Rich Paul with Clutch Sports. I mean, I think, in general, everybody kind of knows, well, there's something afoot here. And the fact that, this roster is just filled with basically really good guys.
Agreed.
Outstanding, in the world of professional sports, you probably don't get many rosters this good off the court, and no issues. And De'Aaron himself is a, classy young person. He always has been. So I don't see that yet. Now, if it were going into the middle of next year, I would say possibilities, could arise.
Yeah, timing is absolutely everything. And let's assume for a second that the reports out there are true, that Rich Paul has sent notice to the Kings that it would be wise to move De'Aaron Fox. Is it fair to say De'Aaron's doing the Kings a favor?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a disservice. I mean, I think the honesty is the best in both parties. I've always said, as the franchise themselves, if they're potentially shopping a guy or there's trade rumors involving a player, you should go to them and tell them the truth.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's going to hurt some feelings, but they're better off to know the truth. And then if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But you don't want to lie to go, oh, no, we're not going to trade you under no circumstances. Well, why would you say that when, of course, all-time greats have been traded? If Jabbar can be traded, and and Will Chamberlain can be traded. Anybody on the Kings can be traded.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Jerry Reynolds joining us. We're talking the news today about De'Aaron Fox and the Kings being open to trading him. Jerry, what do you think? Just a estimate off the top of your head, what kind of value do you think De'Aaron has across the league?
Well, I think he has a lot of value. Now, it just depends on a team's needs, because clearly De'Aaron is a star type player and a kind of a volume scorer. So it has to be a team that needs that, a team that really needs that experienced guard that can go get 20, 25 plus a game type thing. And obviously he's improved as a defender, so that's good. He's not maybe a true playmaker, but he can make plays. So really the fit as much as anything. Obviously, if you're Memphis, you're not interested. If you're,
unless you want to send Ja this way.
Yeah, I mean, it's Dallas, that sort of thing. So there's teams out there that, are looking to make trades themselves, but they wouldn't be, in line to thinking about De'Aaron.
Yeah, and conversely with the Kings, what kind of, there's a couple routes you could go. You could ask for picks and kind of stretch out the future. You could ask for right now and make a run at Jimmy Butler, which in my opinion would not be smart, because this team, the way they're built, the ages, they're on the way up. They're not on the way down, with the exception of DeMar DeRozan to a degree. If you're the Kings, what are your positions of need? What are you looking for in a trade of this magnitude?
Well, I think you need wings, both, small forward, power forward. I mean, long athletic wings, whether it's one or two, but, if it's the right, the right wing, and one would be enough, maybe along with a pick or two. I mean, that's what I'd be looking for, wings and picks.
Yeah.
Somebody, because I don't think you can necessarily get value back completely right now. In other words, so that's why I think picks would have to enter the fray, because you might really say target a young player. I've just thrown out examples here. I don't know what, but it's like Amen Thompson from Houston.
Right.
If you could get him and with picks and something else maybe to make it work, okay. Or in San Antonio, rumors, I mean, you'd have to have Stephen Castle, their young guard, I think, but that doesn't solve your problem, because you still need wings.
Yeah.
And so you'd have to get and I haven't really Sohan or Sochan, he's interesting, but I'm not sure that's the answer either. But so it's, I think Monte McNair and all, and his staff have really got a lot of issues there, because trading Fox and getting back good players probably isn't that hard. Trading Fox and getting players that you need that will fit and make you better, I think is going to be very difficult.
Jerry, how difficult is it to pull off a trade like that? Or more times are you looking at a trade and thinking, okay, this is going to be part of another move that we're going to have to make? Or are you looking at making that trade to make the team better immediately?
Well, I think you have to look at it from the standpoint of this trade. When you're trading a major asset like a Fox, it has to be a trade you think is going to fit and make you better.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like the Halliburton for Domas trade. Both players are terrific players. Really, Halliburton fit what Indiana needed, and Domas brought something the Kings didn't have and made them better, and something they needed. So that's kind of what you're looking for when you trade major assets. The idea that you're going to get 4 first-round picks for in the next 10 years. Well, that I don't think many fans are waiting around.
No.
Just to see what those picks might be down the road. They're expecting the team to, when obviously Fox is a high lottery pick, and he was a terrific pick, but half the lottery picks don't turn out to be terrific. So picks of themselves aren't always the answer. I mean, I think they have to be part of the equation. But so I guess summarize is, I think in my opinion, you have to, if you're going to trade an asset and a star type player, you need to get somebody back that fits and you hope makes you better, a la the Richmond for Weber trade, or if you got a major asset of that type, you just simply got to get the results.
Yes, Sabonis for Halliburton. I mean, sometimes fit too. I go back to the Jason Williams for Mike Bibby trade. You couldn't have traded two opposite players in terms of the style that they play. Jason Williams, very flashy, moving the ball around, and Mike Bibby, very fundamental, but it was such a better fit for the Kings. It took the Kings to the next level, Jerry.
Yeah, it did. And, really part of it that as fans, or sometimes we forget, is that the reason they did it, I mean, besides some of Jay Will's off-court stuff, but then Mike Bibby had off-court stuff too.
Yeah, it's true.
But the reason was the year before they'd traded to get Doug Christie. And during that year, the team really improved dramatically to 55, but we knew that Doug could handle the point a lot. And, was an outstanding defender, but he could handle the ball and run the point. And so losing a true point like Jay Will was, you could, Mike Bibby, who could play the point, but he was, he could play off the ball. He was probably better off the ball as a scorer. And it was a perfect match in that sense, that you had your bigger guard handle the ball probably as much as the smaller guard, but defensively it worked out and offensively it worked out. So, but getting Christie the year before the trade was made for Bibby is why the Bibby trade was made. Is pretty confident that the ball handling would be taken care of.
It's a great point. Jerry Reynolds joining us on a Tuesday, impromptu Jerry Reynolds Tuesday with the Shams Charania news. Jerry, looking back, and it's not, I guess it's mostly the Monty McNair era to a degree. Is there any writing on the wall or little signs that maybe this organization was never completely sold on De'Aaron Fox as the guy when you look at the way that they've drafted so many guards? Yes, they've offered him an extension, but they've always still been, quote unquote, a piece away. Is there anything in the past leading up to this, even firing Mike Brown when De'Aaron said, I don't want another coach, to where maybe the organization has showed signs that they've had questions about De'Aaron?
Well, I don't know that they, I think they know that De'Aaron's a top flight player, and it's certainly been worth his contract. At least that's the way I see it. I think what's happened a little bit is going forward, they're saying, do we want to pay him $250 million? And I think that doesn't mean he's not really good. They might be thinking, we don't think he's a $50-60 million a year player.
Right.
Certainly a 30-40. I mean, he's certainly worth a lot of money in the NBA today. And then the second point, I think that the team has been surprised with how good Malik Monk has looked as the point guard. That he has turned out, better than they could have imagined. And then, of course, the development of Keon Ellis.
Yep, that's
who
great.
Again, so there's a lot of factors there. And then, of course, your rookie looks like he could be a player. And then I'll tell you one other thing is DeMar DeRozan can still play guard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, if you really got the size and length you needed, that's really where he should probably go, and you could get longer and more athletic on the wings. So I think I don't know what they're thinking, but in my mind, that's what they ought to be thinking.
It's a great point. It's an excellent point. And even to a degree, I think Malik Monk has shown, as good as Sabonis was the playoff year, 22-23, running the offense, the dribble handoff, we see how much better Sabonis is where he lives, in the lane, under the hoop. Obviously, he's making the three at a very high level, and that's still a growing part of his game. But the point guard has just been a massive hole on this Sacramento Kings team the last 3 years. And Malik Monk has showed us that, as you just said.
Yeah. And, between he and Sabonis, together, they're kind of averaging about 13, 14 assists a game. Well, that's great. You really have two facilitators. And I think not that Fox couldn't do it, because he's been good at it at times, but I think I've always said where De'Aaron is just special is as a scorer.
Right.
He's a terrific scorer that kind of another version of Devin Booker, if I would say. Probably and of course Devin has been a many-time All-Star, and I think I'd put Fox in that category, that he can really score and make plays, much like a Booker. It's just a different kind of player. But I think with Monk, he really does seem to be more of a playmaker than we anticipated. In addition, of course, he can score the ball.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great comparison between the two. Jerry, when you look at trading a player like Foxy, and a lot's going to be talked about with San Antonio being the preferred destination, I have thought the Lakers would be a very good fit for De'Aaron. How much consideration do front offices give to trading teams within division and within conference?
Well, you have to give it some thought, because you certainly don't. You're going to see him 4 times a year, and you don't want to have him beating your butt 4 times a year.
Yeah.
I mean, having said that, I think you should make your best deal. I mean, preferably, if you were going to trade a star, it's kind of like with Weber and the Richmond trade. Go back to that Mitch. We knew Mitch didn't have a lot of his best years left, but we knew he had probably a couple. And so we were concerned, that didn't want to trade him, in the West and have him beat up on us. So going back east, it was definitely an easier way to go with that.
Definitely. Jerry Reynolds joining us for just a few more minutes. Appreciate him hopping on to talk De'Aaron Fox, talk this Kings team. How much of the finger injury, how much does that play into or affecting possibly Fox's value at this time, Jerry?
I don't think any at all. If he were, a much younger player who hadn't really done much, but I mean, he's got the resume, and certainly he's had his run here where he hasn't played particularly well at times. Very good last night, looked like himself, but and he's no doubt he's playing hurt, and that always affects play. But it's, I think it's one of those things where, the old saying is, if NBA players or professional players, you're supposed to play hurt. You're not supposed to play injured, but you are supposed to play hurt. And everybody that in the NBA that has played more than 5 games is probably hurt to some degree.
Sure.
I mean, it's a credit to De'Aaron that he's playing with being hurt like he is. But so I'm talking around in circles here. But back to your point is, the teams know who he is. He's well scouted, well known. They know he's dropped 60 in a game this year, and so I mean, that's what I say as a fan of the Kings and of De'Aaron, because he's terrific. He's an absolute terrific young player, and so to trade him is a massive undertaking, and you have to get value back. I mean, you can't trade him just because his agent might be pushing for one. You're going to trade him if it's to your advantage, and hopefully it's to your advantage.
Is there anything that the fans that I'm not thinking of that you might be thinking of, because you've been in that seat as a general manager when you're looking at making a trade like this, that come into your mind?
Well, I do think you have to keep in mind, okay, if we stay where we are, just as we are,
mm-hmm.
how much better can we be? Well, the team obviously under Doug Christie's leadership has gotten significantly better, and you got reason to believe they'll continue to play at a higher rate. But the reality is, do you think you're a contender, serious contender in the West? And I suspect that you don't think that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little hard to get there. And so that's with the exact same roster. So you have to think about that. And I think the other thing you have to think about is cap problems. Because at some point, if in fact you kind of keep the roster together and you really pay the contract to Fox, which he is worth, whatever that number could be. It might not be what the agent thinks, but it's going to be a big number.
It's almost never what the agent
and I'm
thinks,
pretty
right?
Sure, on my experience with agents, it'll never be what the agent thinks.
Yeah.
But I mean, what that would do is mean that cap wise, I mean, you're really, free agency is out of the question, requiring a free agent for the next
Sure.
next 5 years or so.
And that's kind of, we talked about this yesterday on this show and a couple days before that as well. When you look at the Kings numbers, let's say you did re-sign De'Aaron Fox this offseason and it wasn't a super max, then you'd still have Keegan Murray coming up after year 1 of De'Aaron's new contract. You have Domantas Sabonis coming up after year 2 of De'Aaron's new contract. And also at the end of year 2 of De'Aaron's new contract, Malik Monk could opt out and ask for more money. He has a player option that year. So in some ways, are you kind of figuring that you're not going to be improving the core of this team for 3 years because your money is tied up, Jerry?
Well, always remember this, and I learned this at a much younger age, is that paying somebody a lot more money doesn't make them better. They're the same player. You're just paying them a lot more. So, I mean, in other words, you could take this exact roster and give everybody a $20 million raise, to new contract, and they'd be the same team.
Yes.
Now on that, but your point is good. I mean, in other words, now from a franchise standpoint, you can sign all those guys because they're your free agents. You can extend them, but all that does is put you well into the luxury tax, which, if you're a championship team like the Warriors were a few years ago, Boston, you're willing, generally speaking, owners are willing to go into that luxury tax to where, in fact, instead of paying, basically 180 million in salaries, well, it becomes another 60 or 70 million, or double that at some point. So I guess what I think most owners think and makes sense is that if you're going to go deep into the luxury tax, then you need to have a contending roster, and so that has to be entered into.
Yeah, I think that's excellent. It's a great way to look at it because this roster, while it can be fun at times, it's inconsistent. Unfortunately, it's not that type of consistency, Jerry, that says, okay, we're going to be in the playoffs and we can make some noise. Now, I do think, and correct me if you feel differently, that if this team got a ticket to the playoffs, they might be able to make some noise if they get the right matchup.
Yeah, I like the way they're playing now. I mean, here again, it's still, with Coach Christie, I think he's made a real improvement in this team defensively, as well as his rotations and all that. So they're a better team, and I love watching them. I mean, they're fun to watch again, and so there's that. But as your point, could they beat somebody in the first round? Yeah, I think they could. I think the scary part is, we don't know if they could get to the first round.
Exactly.
And so there's a lot of uncertainty there. And probably as a fan as I am, you like the team, but you kind of know that, probably it's going to be tough for you to advance very far with this roster. I mean, love to be wrong there, but but I think the weaknesses that we see in the roster with the length and athleticism at the wings in particular will bite you in the butt somewhere along the line.
Yeah, and it's not exactly getting fixed with a mid-level exception or a veterans minimum, Jer.
Yeah, you have to be really lucky. I mean, occasionally you can pick the right guy, where you really get a break on a guy that's kind of undervalued. I thought Dallas did last year with Derrick Jones Jr.
Spot on.
I was really disappointed Kings didn't go after him, because a lively defensive, long-armed kind of guy would, I thought, make a real difference on this team.
Spot on. You could say the same thing about Hachimura 2 trade deadlines ago. Lakers got him for cheap.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I say. I mean, that's why I think teams, after what Dallas did, are looking, even if things are going pretty good, you're thinking, if we make the right deals, we can get significantly better. And of course, Dallas was barely in the playoff hunt at the time they made the deal for Gafford and P.J. Washington. And of course, they had gotten Derek Jones before, and all of a sudden they get to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, and you were ahead of them in the standings at the trade deadline.
Yeah,
go figure.
So, that's why you're always looking, and I'm sure, with the exception of 2 or 3, I'm sure Oklahoma City's not too much looking, or Cleveland Cavaliers, but there's only probably 4 or 5 teams. Actually, I think Houston probably isn't, to be honest. I think they like where they are, and I think if I'm them, I kind of like where I am. You can always reevaluate at the end of the year.
Yeah, I agree. The only one you don't like there is Van Vliet's contract. Other than that, I think you see how things play out. 'Cause Van Vliet's probably opting in for that 44+ million next year.
Oh, you can count on that. You can count on that. I mean, he's a pretty good player, but
he is
one of those guys that was highly overpaid to get him. He's probably a $20 million player. You wouldn't mind having a guy like that if it was as the third guard kind of thing.
Sure.
Natural leader. He's been a champion, but he'll opt in. You can.
Yep, no doubt about it. You'd be crazy not to opt in if you're not Fred there. Okay, a couple more questions and we're going to get you out. I'm going to combine 2 questions into one. The first is to fans that are saying this will be the biggest trade in Kings history, and also saying that trading Fox now makes the Kings a complete rebuild. You say what?
No, I don't see it as a rebuild. In other words, because you wouldn't be trading it if you were to trade Fox just for draft picks, then that might be true. Future picks, because future picks don't play for a while. But as long as you're trading Fox as an asset for another asset, a different asset, then I don't see how you could. It wouldn't be a rebuild. It'd be trying to get better on the run. I mean, it's just like if you were to trade Fox to, not that I'm just throwing something out there, like to Indiana for Siakam. Well, does that look like a rebuild? Of course not.
No, absolutely not. It's a recalibration.
Yeah, exactly. So there. I mean, there's times, if in fact you were saying, okay, we're just going to trade him somewhere that could take on his contract with no players coming back, and we want 3 first-round picks. You can't get them consecutively, but over the next 6-7 years. Well, that would sound like a rebuild, or certainly a retool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this, and just to double up on that point, I think you probably, in a deal like this, need a little bit more than you got for DeMarcus Cousins. I know they're different players, different times with where the teams are at, but it seems like a better deal is needed for a Foxy.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think you get, Fox doesn't have any of the, of the baggage. I mean, Big Cuz was pulling a baggage train cart with him. So
it's a big caboose.
Everybody loved the talent, and but they had some inkling of the issues that came with it. So that hurt his value tremendously. And Fox would be just the opposite. I think that I don't think any team would be, worried about taking him on as part of their roster and part of their franchise. His character is, he's great, he's elite. He's just a high class young man.
Amen. I agree with that. Okay, final question. I know we just got this news about 2 hours ago. Do you think Fox will be a King after the trade deadline? I do.
I'm just not sure there's enough time to get anywhere close to value. And I mean, it's like with San Antonio, supposedly, I'm just going like the fans are on rumors.
Sure.
And I could see where they would really like to get him, but I'm not sure what they can give you.
Right.
To make it right. I mean, so that'd be the problem I'd have right now, is that, in other words, you could get some nice pieces, but what I can tell with their rosters, they can't give you what you actually need. A lively, long, athletic wing.
Well, they do have this one Harrison. What's his last name, Jerry?
Harrison Barnes. Well, he
Oh,
wouldn't
yeah.
be the. I like Harrison, but he wouldn't be the answer. You know, Soshin kid's interesting, but
Yeah.
but he's really more of a role player, a nice, lively role player on a good team. But
Yeah.
so yeah, that I think that's just what little I don't study the league like I used to, but I just think it's going to be, you know, it's going to be difficult in the short term. Not saying it can't happen, but it would probably take a third team some way, and
Great point.
that always gets tricky. But yeah, we'll see. Like I say, I don't. I mean, obviously, every player is tradable, and Fox probably would be at this stage of his career would be the biggest trade in Sacramento Kings history if they trade him. Because Mitch, to his credit, was certainly on the downslide. You know, Mitch was probably a better player than De'Aaron, but in my opinion, overall, but because he had done more, he'd had multiple years of all-star caliber play. So, but
All-star MVP.
yeah, an all-star MVP. So and in Hall of Fame. So there's that. So
Yeah.
but I mean, and not saying so anyway, but that's where it is. It'd be a major. It's going to be to trade Fox. You better get value. That's all I'm saying.
Gotta get value. But I do think it's fair to point out, and tell me if you feel differently, that my feeling in my stomach is not what it would have been last year at this time if you said we're trading De'Aaron Fox.
Oh, no, mine either. I mean, just because of things we've discussed. I mean, I think with the development of Malik Monk and Keon Ellis, and then you see signs with Carter. I mean, the guard line looks better.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
looks like it's covered better. And truthfully, I think to really get for this team to take a step forward, you probably eventually might have to think in terms of DeRozan as a guard.
Yep.
Anyway, and of course,
It's a great point.
and he's had many years as an all-star at guard, so he can still do it. Especially, you know, the way Domas and Monk handle the ball, he wouldn't be under pressure that way.
And doesn't that kind of slide Keegan to the natural position that you wanted to see him at 3?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if you had, you know, I mean, just throw a name out there. If you had somebody like Amon Thompson from Houston at one of those wings with Keegan, you'd be guarding somebody. I'm telling you.
Oh boy.
Whew.
Oh boy.
That guy is a star in the making. That to me, Amon Thompson at Houston, I think is your next Scottie Pippen kind of player.
Wow. That's big right there. I don't disagree with you either. The kid's got all of the raw. You know who I'd be putting him with right now in the offseason? Kawhi Leonard. I'd be putting him next to Kawhi Leonard.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's I mean, he can be, I think he's got the chance to be a Kawhi Leonard kind of player in his own ways. His shooting isn't good enough. But
No.
But that you know,
Either was Kawhi's to start. It was a line
That can
drive,
get that-
Jerry. At SDSU, we used to joke around that Kawhi was going to break a backboard because
well, that was the rap on him coming out. People didn't think he could shoot well enough. You know, why he flipped where he did, and well, I've always said one of the greatest examples or couple that I've ever seen were Jason Kidd and Magic Johnson. Both when they came to the league, they weren't good shooters; they were poor shooters. They became outstanding shooters. So you know, most guys can improve. You know, it's fundamental skills. I've always said you can improve fundamental skills. You can't improve God-given skills. You can't make people taller, faster, tougher for the most part. You know, if a guy's soft, you can make him less soft, but you're not going to turn him into a real hard-nosed guy. That's for
Bingo.
Sure. But anyway.
Bingo. Jerry, thank you so much for coming on short notice. I love our conversations. I know the fans appreciate it so much. You killed it as always, buddy.
Well, thanks. I enjoy talking hoops with you. You know that, and certainly really appreciate the fans that just love the game. Like
Amen. Amen. The one and only. We'll see you at halftime. tomorrow. All right,
Yes, you
buddy.
will.
Have a great
care.
rest of the day. Get your walk in, by the way. Get your walk in now. Okay.
I think I will.
All right.
I think I
Good
will.
stuff.
Okay.
Jerry, have a great one. Thanks, buddy. Jerry Reynolds breaking it down as only he can with the De'Aaron Fox news coming out earlier today. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Ryan in Sacktown with you. Heck of a conversation there. A lot to chew on right there with Jerry Reynolds. I thought he brought up a lot of great points. One of the reasons that, and we are so incredibly lucky to be able to have Jerry on this channel as much as we do. I am beyond blessed to be able to have a friendship with that man, to talk basketball and otherwise, and to have him on the show like that, to talk to all of you, talk to me just about what's next. I mean, isn't it like, it's kind of like getting, depending on what camp you're in with this Fox stuff, it's like, I got a problem. Where do you go? Well, you need to talk to the person that really knows the most about it. And sometimes that's your grandpa. Sometimes that's your uncle. Like, Jerry is just Sacramento's grandpa. That's what he is, especially when it comes to basketball. Not a more lovable or knowledgeable guy in this city. Name me one. Try to find one. So we have a ton to talk about. We have not talked much in the chat, so we're going to get to a lot of that as well. We're going to keep talking this Fox thing through. Progressive, I saw your chat. I was not suggesting that you trade Fox to the Lakers. I was simply suggesting that the Lakers would like to have Fox. No, I do not want to see De'Aaron Fox in a Lakers uniform 4 times a year. Absolutely not. But what does this mean for this team going forward? Jerry doesn't think it changes the dynamics in the locker room. I don't think it really does either. In fact, any type of shade, any type of hate that some of you I haven't seen any in the chat, which is great. I love that. But anybody that's in the camp, if you know somebody that's like, screw Fox, you want to get him out of here. It's like, y'all should be sending in some thank you cards. You need to educate them. The fact that Rich Paul is giving this team reportedly a heads up that De'Aaron's probably not resigning with you, it's a good time to start looking for trades. And also doing that before the deadline. They didn't have to do that before the deadline. I'm good with that. That's class. I'm okay with it. Is there a better way to handle it? No, there's not. So take the news for what it is. We'll go from here. We'll kick it around. We'll talk about it. Yes, Jerry is the best. Amen, Randy. I agree. Karen, very welcome. Everybody wants Fox. Yeah, there's a lot of teams that can use him. I'll say this. I think Fox is on the surface, without doing a lot of digging, because as much as we have talked about De'Aaron Fox on this channel, and as much as we've talked about how well combinations have played without De'Aaron Fox on the court, I have not for a second dug in to say, which teams could use him the most. Not there yet. Now, there were rumblings about this, even going back to the Mike Brown firing thing. There were rumblings about how this was going to be handled. There's been rumblings about the path forward for this team. It's not a coincidence. The last few days, even as recent as last night, Grant and I put the salaries up on the screen to show you. And in fact, why don't we go to those really quick? Because Jerry and I were talking about that as well. Let's get to the Kings salaries for you. So here are the Kings. Here's the Kings payroll for you. But when you look at what's on the books and what's to come and where the Kings are headed, there's one map, there's one path that this payroll leads you down. And it's this. If you re-sign Fox and Jerry put it perfectly, you're going into the luxury tax. Well, you're allowed to do that because it's your own free agent. You're going to the luxury tax. But if you look at this, Sabonis, he's through 27, 28. Same with Malik. Now, Malik's last year that's in blue there, that's an option. So that's Malik's player option. He's going to want more money if he keeps playing the way he's been playing through the next couple years. But what I'm saying and the conclusion we were coming to, and the reason we were kind of trying to paint this picture is if you re-sign Fox, you don't really have much room for improvement in improving the holes on this roster. Look at your bench this year. Even with this payroll, this is what the Kings have had to do this year to fill the roster spots out. And the bench has been, at best, a high-level G League bench. And I mean that with all due respect. It's been closer to that than it has an NBA bench. So realistically, you're looking at another 3 to 4 years with Fox re-signed of running this thing back again and again and again. And whatever happens in between, yeah, you'll get a different mid-level exception each year. Yes, and that was the big talk too, the draft picks. Well, what's the big deal about giving up a couple of second-round picks or giving up a first-round picks? The big deal is that's the only way. Yes, it is yours. I can confirm that. Rich Paul is 100% where some of this has been linking. 100%. 100% yours. Anyways, getting back to the Kings and getting back to the payroll. The draft picks will be the only way that you're improving the team. And then on top of that, you've got Keegan coming up that you got to think about. You think Keon Ellis after next year is only going to be paid $2.3 million? Nah, I don't think so. So that's why if you want money to play with and you want to hopefully take the next step, it's a lot of money to play with. Where De'Aaron's at, $37 million. $37 million, and it's going to be way north of that when his contract comes up. So a lot to chew on here in Sacramento. By the way, a side note, minor news, the Kings won last night. What did you think of that one in Brooklyn? Much better second half than first half. We can talk about that. We're also going to talk a ton more about this De'Aaron Fox news. I'm going to answer some of the questions in the chat. Want to get you involved in the show. If you would like to call the show, would love to have you call in. You can use the link that I'm putting back in the chat right now. You can also hit the QR code. We played the first part of De'Aaron Fox's on the Draymond Green podcast. Here is the second part in case you missed it.
So, but to pass on that amount of money and just play the season out.
For me, man, it has all to do with just the team, the organization. Where are we going? I want to make sure that we're in a position to try to win in the future, because that's ultimately what I want to do. Like, I know I make enough money regardless of where I play or what I do. Like, I'm gonna be fine, unless God forbid, knock on wood, that you have a career in injury. But aside from that, like, I feel like I'm continuing to get better as a player every year. But for me, are we looking like we're continuing to get better year after year, and are we going to be able to compete at a high level? And that's all mine is. Like, if we can show that this year, like, you sign an extension now. If not, like, obviously I still have another year, but that's where my mindset is. At some point, will we be able to compete for a championship or really compete at a high level for a long time?
And the answer is no. I mean, flat out, the answer is no. The money's not there. The players aren't there to be able to compete at the level that De'Aaron wants to. Now, that's a conversation all in its own. We're not going to open up the can of worms. Well, De'Aaron, look in the mirror. You can do better. We could go through all that and run down every player and talk about how they could play better. But the reality is, for your owner who's not going to go into the first and the second apron, this is it. He ain't dipping into that. Maybe if you were on the verge of a championship, he dips into that for the second half of a season. But over a 2-3 year period, it's not happening. So it's either bring him back, and whether he'll be happy or not here, who knows? Depending on the competition, I can tell you this. I think the level of wear, the usage rate that De'Aaron's had over the last couple years has been difficult. I think that there is part of De'Aaron that feels having a better team around him and not having his usage rate at 100% might bring out a better De'Aaron and a better team overall. But the Kings don't have the money and the pieces to make that happen. Unfortunately, here in Sacramento, and in many of the fans' eyes, he is the number one. That is your 1A. Everything else goes around him. And I've been saying it for a minute. De'Aaron's an incredible 1B. He's not a 1A, in my opinion. But regardless, we are where we are. If you're just joining the show, news breaking today. We're going to go to the phones here in just 1 second. That Foxy, per numerous different sources, we're using Shams, that the Kings are open to listening to trades ahead of the February 6th trade deadline for De'Aaron Fox. I talked to, or obviously I talked to, but I agree with Jerry in what Jerry had to say. I think Fox is probably a King after the deadline. I don't think that Foxy gets moved before the deadline. I said that on a show earlier this week as well. And I had some knowledge of what was kind of brewing in the background. I still don't think he moves before the deadline, but let me know if you disagree. Tell me why. Who do you think it's for? We will get into all that. But as promised, I told you we would go to the phones and get you involved. So let's do that. Let's bring in our man, Dirk. Dirk, what's up today?
Right on your screen. That's what's up today. How are you, man?
Good. How are you, brother?
Good. You hear me all right? I got a lot of background noise today.
Yeah, I got you.
All right, cool. So I just find this odd a little bit. I mean, I'd be sad to lose Fox, but lately the team has been winning in spite of him, not because of him. So the timing's a little weird. But the one question I wanted to ask you is, if there is a deal, if he wants to go to San Antonio, who on their roster would you like to be a King?
Dude, I don't even know. I honestly, I don't know. I've got to look at their roster and look at their financials. I mean, a couple names pop to mind. Vassell is not a bad player. Sochan, not a bad player, as Jerry said. But I, to be completely honest with you, and I meant to ask Jerry this question, I should have. Like, what is the King's duty to maybe look to move him somewhere he wants? Which I know in my heart of hearts is not really a duty, but sometimes teams work with players. I don't really see anybody on the Spurs that jumps off the page to me at first look. Dirk, how about you?
I saw Sochan as well. If we're playing for this season, you want backup point guard depth if you're trading Fox. So put Chris Paul in the deal. Puts Jeremy Sochan, either Keldon Johnson or Vassell. It's just a matter of that the money actually lines up with those deals alone. But you're not getting enough potential in the deal. And I don't know if San Antonio really wants to decimate their roster. I mean, Chris Paul would just be a temporary thing. Like, he's your backup point guard for if you're making a playoff push. But as we were talking about in chat, I think theoretically a San Antonio pick, first round pick, if Wemby gets injured, he's probably he looks a bit more durable than the guy in OKC who's been out 2 years now, right? But you could see an injury putting them way back, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So
to either player, sure.
And I know this feels like a 3-team deal. We still need to get off Herder's contract, right? Now,
yes.
That's up to the GMs to do their jobs. I say GMs, I mean Monty and Wes Wilcox, the assistant GM,
right?
need to make this happen, right?
You hear his name as much as Monty's, Dirk. You're right. That's funny.
Well, yeah, I don't want to advertise for other shows, but anyway, I will say if this is the end, so be it. I don't think it makes him look good. I don't think San Antonio will benefit from this because, I mean, just based on how Wemby plays, he shoots a lot of threes. Is Fox diving for boards? Is Fox going to catch? He's not a great off-ball player to me.
Okay, so it's funny that you say that, Dirk, because a lot of, and what I was getting at before I brought you on was, something that I think's kind of worn on Fox, and maybe it changes depending on who's around him. But I've heard whispers about, the punishment of going inside and how he's made a bigger point to do that this year. And look what's happened with his body. He's got 2 bummed fingers or 3 bummed fingers, depending on who you ask. And if you're San Antonio, you bring up a perfect point. That's the Fox you want. Wemby's not opening lanes for you.
Yeah, and I will say Fox has, for lack of a better word, he's a little fragile. Not really fragile, but he's always going to be dealing with this stuff based on how he plays the game. So I applaud him for playing through this stuff, but it's been a problem for a lot of years where being a small guard, he has a thinner frame that makes him fast, but it also makes him take a lot of punishment. So do you have faith that De'Aaron Fox is going to become a 40+% 3-point shooter so that he can really achieve, or maximize his potential as a threat? I don't ever see that happening.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, and assuming, and I hear he's making a very good recovery, Greg Popovich, that's the other wild card. How would a Popovich-Fox relationship mix?
Well, a stroke is dead brain, right? So it's going to be, he might still be the same guy, but meaning,
but you don't know the degree of the stroke.
Well, if he's been out as long as he has, I've dealt, my family members have had strokes, and so it's always a long 3-month process. I mean, you get a general gauge of how well you're going to recover from that stroke. A lot of factors are dependent on there, but I mean, yeah, he might play for Popovich. Popovich has been the coach of a lot of failed San Antonio teams for the last 10 years or so. Maybe they just lack talent, which is, brings up a lot of questions like, hey, we're going to be dealing with this team, but they did have Dejounte Murray. They got rid of him. So, you look like a great coach when you have, I'm not saying Pop's a bad coach, right? But you have Tim Duncan on your team, an all-timer, and now you got Wemby.
Yeah.
You look a lot better. So when you're playing alongside Wemby, you also have to think about some of these guys may be better than their current year stats as well, because you're playing with a unicorn that frankly shoots a lot of 3-pointers for his size.
No, it's a good point.
So just kind of take a look at that roster. I was trying to look 2 years ago stats to try to base some ideas, but every time we play San Antonio, some of their guys look much better than average or than their averages. So I don't know. There's got to be a third team deal, and I think we need to get off of Herter. But collectively, this could be a step forward for this Kings team. And I'm going to say that reluctantly, but we might get better.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Hey, Dirk, appreciate the call, brother.
See ya.
All right, Dirk kicking us off. We're going to be getting to some more calls. If you want to give the show a call, give us a call right now using the link or the QR code. Everyone with a Fox jersey, a little worried right now. Hopefully you used your American Express. You want to make sure that you use the Amex card. We don't have any ties to Amex, but you might want to use the Amex card if you're buying a Fox jersey anytime soon. All right, can we address some of this stuff really quick? Yeah. Let's get the conspiracy music up. I'm not buying the news. 4 guys averaged 20 points in the lineup. It's a publicity stunt to make the Kings roster changes by the deadline. Jay, come on, dude. Jay, I get that there's always going to be a couple tin hatters out there, but Jay, the writing has been on the wall for a minute, my man. You're going to tell me that like this has been a WWE storyline between Mike Brown being fired, Fox going on the Draymond podcast, Fox not signing an extension, now 2 years in a row to make moves at this trade deadline? Jay, you're better than that, dude.
Cannot win with him. Cannot coach with him. Can't do it.
Jay, come on, man.
That's terrible.
Jay, you're better than that. Jay, I know you like to, I know when the group goes left, you like to go right, but that's just a little too much, my man. Just a little too much. We bring in, now usually this guy talks WWE. He's here to talk Kings.
Acknowledge me.
Adam, what's up, dude?
What's up, brother? How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday to you as well.
How are you?
I'm great.
Did you have a good lunch?
I didn't have lunch.
Me either. I thought we could talk Cobb salad.
Yeah, you guys were doing a little too much yesterday. That was funny. Good job.
It's Horse.
Guys, though.
It's always Horse. He just brings it out of me.
Yeah, he's a troublemaker.
Hey, I'm kind of with Jay. I think the team may have stepped up a little bit in Fox's absence. I mean, obviously they have to, but maybe they're saying something to the front office like, hey, we can do all right without this guy.
Well, the numbers bear it.
It's true.
The numbers bear it. Everybody's been calling me a Fox hater. Everybody's been calling my numbers fake. Everybody's been calling.
You are a Fox hater.
I am not a Fox hater. I'm a Kings lover who wants to see this team take the next step. And the next step is not without or with him, unfortunately. If Fox was making Malik Monk money, hell yeah, the step's with him. But he's not. He's going to be looking at 40 million plus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, especially compared to Sabonis, who's going to be making, what, 48, 49 in a couple of years?
And you know Foxy's going to want a bigger contract than Sabonis.
And, you know, I think we as the fans are doing this like, you brought up like the 1A, 1B argument. But the biggest difference between Sabonis and Fox is that Sabonis is okay to be the number 2. He's fine with that role. Whereas I don't think De'Aaron Fox is okay with that role.
It's a very good point. Grant has said so many times that Fox wants to be the guy.
Rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you, Foxy, if you're watching this. I get it. I understand it. But, you know, I was kind of thinking about Sabonis last night. And, like, if you had your choice to build the team around...
Wait. You were thinking about Sabonis last night?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not going to say it.
No, go ahead. You're good.
But if I'm thinking about, you know, which one I'd rather build my team around, I would go with Sabonis. And I'm not saying that he is Dirk. He's great, but maybe he's not Dirk. But I think you could have like a Dirk-like presence on the team that, you know, like, I just think like, what would Sabonis bring to like the rookies and the people that are coming up on the team, you know, those younger guys, like what's he going to teach them versus what maybe Fox would teach him? I don't know, man. I think that salary that we're looking at for Fox is too much.
Well, again, and that's why I'll put it up. Let me get back to it. That's why, like, as we've been kicking this thing around with Foxy, the only way the holes that we're talking about on this team, the only way you theoretically fill those holes is with the money that Fox is going to make.
Yeah, and that Herter contract. Yikes.
Well, yeah, but okay, but that Herter contract fills one hole, right?
Right.
like you have then 40 million. Let's say you get a high level player. So maybe, and by high level, I mean a guy that is a great piece to a team, not an all-star, but a really good piece that's making between 25 and 30 million. That frees you up another 10 million to play with there. The Kings already have some money on the books. You've got multiple places to fill. And you're seeing a guy in Malik Monk who, between him and Sabonis, they are one of 4 pairings in the last few years in the NBA that have 50 assists between each other. Like the other pairings, we're talking LeBron, Jokic, Murray. So something is working there, and you need wings. Jerry said you need length. So if you've got the guards figured out to a degree, or I've seen some questions in the chat. What's your perfect trade, Rhino? I would love to see Coby White on this team. I am not saying Coby White is a better player than De'Aaron Fox. He is not. They are completely different players. But if you are going to be going more towards a high pace, pick and roll type of team, Coby White runs the pick and roll beautifully. He puts pressure on the defense. He can hit the 3 ball, and he's athletic as hell. He would thrive with a Sabonis type. A Coby White and a Malik Monk, they're very similar players. I'm looking at guys similar to that. So, hell, maybe I'm willing to take on or looking at a Zach LaVine contract along with a Coby White. I don't know. But players like that. And then you fill out your wings because you still have money to deal with. But, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, Zach LaVine, that dude was balling out right now. So we may have been wrong, although we still don't love that contract. That would, I'd rather have a Zach LaVine at 46 million or somewhere around there, than a Fox at a 62.
Don't disagree with that. And then you still have Sabonis.
And, what is
the man
LaVine
that
have one more year?
No, LaVine's got I think another 3, and he gets a bump in percentage if he gets traded. By the way, hold on, we have breaking news, Adam.
Delete.
Malik, he's making 20.
Oh no, I said delete.
Oh yeah, we have breaking news.
Break it.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
Karen loves cabbage. Karen loves cabbage is our breaking news.
Horse, was I talking to you about? We were talking about coleslaw the other day.
Oh my
gosh. Are you a coleslaw or a potato salad guy?
Me?
Yeah.
Potato salad every day over coleslaw. Unless the coleslaw has bacon and blue cheese in it. Now we're talking a different story.
Bacon and blue cheese coleslaw?
Best thing you'll ever have. Hit it with some Tabasco sauce too. In fact, here's what you do. No, here's what you do. You put it on top of pulled pork, on top of on a sandwich. You go the pulled pork, Stubbs spicy barbecue sauce, the bacon and blue cheese coleslaw, Tabasco on that, squish it together. You got a hell of a sandwich, man.
Brother, that's not coleslaw. That's a sandwich.
No, but it's coleslaw on a sandwich.
Going back to the Cobb salad argument, is it still a Cobb salad if you modify the ingredients?
Oh my gosh. You're okay. It was steak instead of turkey and ham. This is what we came up here for? What about a crab Louie? Are we going to forget Fox? Let's talk salads now.
So if you switch a hamburger patty out with a chicken patty, is it still a hamburger?
My man. It's okay. That is an awful argument coming from a guy with a legal base or a legal background. That's a terrible argument. The hamburger is the main dish. It's a salad. The salad is the main dish. You don't switch out a burger for a piece of chicken and call it a burger. It's still a salad. We're talking about a topping to the salad. Come on.
So if you had a Ford transmission on an Audi, is it still an Audi?
I don't know. God, fucking Adam. I love you, bro. You're the best. Anything else on Fox?
No, that's it. Pack your bags. Let's get rid of that contract, dude.
You just came on to work in your salad takes, dude. Come
Sorry.
on. So wait, are you coleslaw or are you potato
Oh,
salad?
I'm coleslaw all the way. The worst coleslaw is worse than the worst potato salad, but the best coleslaw is better than the best potato salad.
Okay, but the shelf life on potato salad is so much longer than the shelf life on coleslaw. Because like
400
coleslaw is one of those things you better eat that immediately. You let the coleslaw sit out for like
Why
6
would you
hours.
wait?
Well, I'm just saying it's not a good party side dish. Coleslaw's got to be eaten right out of the fridge, man.
Yeah.
Straight out of the fridge. And by the way, have you ever tasted that dressing that they put on it to make it coleslaw? It's really weird. It's kind of gross.
Isn't it just like mayo?
No, it's like a oily, sweet and sour. I don't know. It's weird,
Hey,
dude.
don't yuck my yum.
Just saying. All right, man. We're back to it. We'll pick this up some
Jake's
other
getting
time.
pissed.
Jake
pissed. Wants me to sing some made up song about the Kings or something, I guess. I don't know.
You have a made up song about the Kings?
No, but I know people that do.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right.
We'll
All
talk
right,
about it
Adam.
later.
We'll talk
Okay.
about it later. Love you, brother. Be well. Adam coming in here and just harpooning the conversation. Trade Fox for food. See, this is what happens. We talk about De'Aaron Fox around the lunch hour, and it's like, you know what? Get him out of here for a rack of ribs. We'll take it. A rack of ribs. A Zelda's pizza. Yeah, I'll trade Fox. You know what I would trade Fox for? Hold on. Actually, there is a food trade. I would 100% trade Fox for the New York Prime at Bennett's. Go check out Bennett'sRestaurants.com. You can see all 3 of their wonderful locations here in the greater Sacramento area. In fact, I was just there this weekend for weekend brunch. It is our family's favorite. And damn it, because of Adam and everybody else, my experience at Bennett's has spun off this entire conversation about Cobb salad. So if you want to do that and send me your pictures of your salads from Bennett's, please do so. And we will get that conversation going again. In fact, why not start the conversation now? Weekend brunch, 11 to 2 p.m. Go check it out. Amazing steak Cobb salad there. That's what I got. My wife got the ahi. Incredible choice there. And look at those chicken tenders, man. Those things look bomb. I was trying to get my son's attention to go towards the football game so I could grab a few fries. You know what I'm saying. But Bennett's seriously has a little bit of everything for everyone, whether you want a prime cut of steak. They've got great seafood like the redfish. And also, they do catering. If you got a big group getting together, let them come to your house. Take care of it for you. Brian just had a little party that he catered. In fact, I'm not going to share whose party it was, but check out how amazing this looks.
I don't know about you, but if you're thinking about having a holiday party or a party of any kind, and you don't ask us to make our house smoked salmon, to grill our prime New York steak, to grill long stem artichokes, to make ahi pokey. What are you talking about? You're going to have a party and you're not going to call Bennett's and have them take care of you? My goodness gracious. Give us a call. We can make this for Easter. We can make it for Christmas. We can make it for any.
And you can give them a call by getting those numbers at Bennett'sRestaurants.com. You can make reservations, buy gift cards, look at all of their specials throughout the week. Happy hour today, 2 to 6, sips and tastes. Also, don't forget about Wine and Dine Mondays, prime rib on the weekends. I could go on forever. You will not be disappointed. I've been saying it for a minute. If you get a bad meal there, send me the receipt. I'll take care of it. And don't send me a receipt from a meal you enjoyed. Don't do it. It's bad karma. Awful karma. You know who you are, who's thinking about that right now. I don't need to say your names. Tristan. No, I'm just kidding. But go check out Bennett's. Appreciate all the feedback that y'all have been giving them. And also, let us know when you go. We will retweet it. Brian loves getting that feedback. Let them know that you heard about him here on the channel. Yes, I know. I covered it. Let's see. GNVT whip. I won't be hearing Fox is mad now. So watch out. You wouldn't like him when he was mad during the broadcast. Good riddance. Well, again, if we're gonna go back to this discussion and really dive into it, Jerry Reynolds was here. If you're just joining the show, there is no rush to trade De'Aaron Fox. There is zero rush. This is not a liquidation. This is not, we've got to get him off before February 6th. None whatsoever. In fact, before all this broke, Jerry and I had a conversation, I want to say about a month ago. And he said that he would wait until draft time to trade De'Aaron Fox. Thought that was interesting. So if the right deal comes about, great. If it doesn't, then you wait. He's under contract through next year. Now, the closer you get to next year, as you get closer to this time next year, the trade deadline, if we're sitting here this time next year having this conversation that 2 weeks left, you got to trade him, then the Kings have mismanaged the situation horribly, because theoretically value begins to go down a little bit, not greatly, but it definitely is the law of diminishing returns the longer you wait, because there's less time on his contract. So let's see, back to the chat. I want to get all you in here. There's a ton of chat. I'm trying. Is a taco a sandwich? Are we going to go with as a hot dog a sandwich now too? I mean, is that what this show's going to turn into? We kind of covered this, Jake. I don't think that to me on the surface, I've not done a deep dive into it. I don't know that there's a full trade there with San Antonio. I truly think that you probably need a third team involved if you're trying to get him to San Antonio. But there's no reason, there's no rule that says you got to trade the player where he wants. De'Aaron Fox does not have a trade clause, or he does not have the ability to veto trades. So it's whatever the best deal is for the Kings. If San Antonio happens to be that team, then so be it. TJ McConnell and Alvarado always bully Fox. Other teams, role players aren't even scared of Fox. Yeah, I'm not. Look, different players, different times. And here's the other thing. Small sample sizes. TJ McConnell does that to a lot of guards. Yeah. Chaka, for those that don't know, this is the Sabaka drop, because the mic cam or the microphones around the hoops, they pick up Malik Monk dropping the G damn bombs, which Malik, leave the Lord out of this. But yeah, here's Sabaka. Who is it? Sabaka or Sabonis? Let us know in the chat. Kobe White, you want another guard? Come on, get a wing. The Kings don't have a point guard. Well, okay, that's not accurate to say. The Kings have Jordan McLaughlin. Malik Monk's the closest thing you have to a point guard, and he is not even a real point guard. No, I am not saying a straight-up trade for another point guard, but at some point, this team needs a backup point guard. They have to have one. A legit backup point guard. Not saying it's TJ McConnell, not saying that it's Josh Hart. Those guys don't grow on trees. You need a good backup point guard to be in the mix for this team to be successful. Yes, you need wings. Wings are important too. Got to fill the holes. I saw a question about the Amex card. I believe if a player gets traded, Amex will let you get a different jersey. That's why I said Amex. Kings will get fleeced. We'll probably end up with Harrison Barnes for Fox. I don't think that's going to happen. There it is. Yes, I believe they do a jersey exchange thing. Castle, I don't know. I've not seen enough Castle yet. But again, we don't need to hyper focus in on San Antonio. Couple things clear. Yes, they have Wemby. Wemby's not on the market. Done. Period. End of story. If Wemby wasn't in San Antonio, De'Aaron would not want to be in San Antonio. Let's get that clear right off the jump. But the Kings, he does not have a clause in his contract to veto trades. So we'll see what the Kings do. But again, no rush to do it. No rush to do it whatsoever. What we have not talked about yet is the Kings win last night, getting ready now to go in to Philadelphia. They play the Lakers tonight. Paul George unlikely to play tomorrow. He is not playing tonight. He is already ruled out of this one. Aha, a jersey exchange. Yes. At least that's what they used to do. That's pretty cool of Sabonis when he did some exchanges on his own. He paid for, I want to say it was in the neighborhood of 50 jerseys. And they went around to fans at one of the games that were wearing Sabonis jerseys. And yeah, it was taped. They used it for TV, but they traded out the 10s for 11s. I thought that was cool as Sabonis. Rich Paul is hunting for that all NBA spot for Fox, and he knows Fox ain't getting it on the Kings. What makes you think that Fox is going to get it on a different team? Like, if Fox was a bona fide all NBA guy, the Kings would not be trading him. They wouldn't. Sam, what happened to the vibes? You like the conspiracy theory music? We'll see if we can bring it back. So, I mean, I can put music on behind me. I don't really want to do that, though. It is a mix of Sabonis and Chewbacca. So it starts with Sabonis, and then it goes to Chewbacca. See that? We're getting pretty complicated here on the Kings court. And look, I had the drawing board all queued up for all you guys, and then this Fox stuff dropped. In fact, we should probably recap that if you are just joining the show. Give you some insight into how we got here and where we are at. Shams and some others reported that the Kings will be accepting offers and are open to trading De'Aaron Fox ahead of the February 6th deadline. Also reports surfacing that Rich Paul sent a note, quote unquote, to the Kings saying that it would be wise to move De'Aaron Fox now. Now, I don't know. Here's the word that I'm hanging on to, that it would be wise for the Kings to move him now. The now part, I've got to digest a little bit. The now part, considering he still has a year and a half on the deal, is interesting. It's not a Jimmy Butler situation. Fox has not caused a stink. He's not being a distraction. Now, could this become a distraction? Possibly. Jerry and I talked about that. Go back and watch it if you can after the show on the replay. But the now part is interesting. Really what this comes down to, and I had heard some whispers about it. We've talked a lot about the roster. We've talked about the money that's going to be available. What became abundantly clear is there's pieces to this team that the Kings feel like could be pieces to the bigger picture. Individually, yeah, they might not be worth a ton, but together they work really well. And we've put up a few of the statistics in the past. I'll throw this one up really quick as we continue to talk about the Fox situation. But there's some different combinations. You've got a 5-player combination here in town that plays really, really well together. Let me get this highlighted, and then we will bring that up. Give me 2 seconds as I'm doing this in real time, if it's going to allow me to. Okay, we will wait on that. But the Kings are seeing that you have combinations that are working okay. Individually, they're not worth a ton. Now, a couple of the pieces probably worth more than the others. But to improve the team, the way that De'Aaron Fox wants to improve the team. I put this out in June. Eventually, in December, De'Aaron did a interview with Sam Amick where it came out of his mouth directly. But De'Aaron was offered an extension, both earlier this season in the offseason and last year. He declined to sign the extension, in part because he was going to be eligible if he made All-NBA for the Supermax. That was part of it, but that wasn't the bigger part. The bigger part was he wanted to see how the roster develops. So again, when you look at the roster, there is just not enough there to play with. There's not. For this roster to continue, quote unquote, developing to the level that De'Aaron would like to see it at, to a contender level. And in order to get it to that, that means you're parting with a piece that is either on a team-friendly contract or a piece that the Kings feel is a pretty important part to the bigger picture for them. A piece that could be important to the puzzle of building a contender, taking that next step. Because after all, that's what basketball teams are. They're puzzles. It's not just the 14 or 15 best, biggest, and shiniest pieces. You got to have roles. You've got to have dudes that do things in different areas that others don't. And the Kings have 5 of them. They have 6. Fox is part of that. But to take that next step, if you're the Kings, you're looking at partying with a Keegan Murray. You're looking at partying with a Keon Ellis, a Malik Monk, with no guarantee that De'Aaron Fox, no guarantee, 1, that it would work, and 2, no guarantee that De'Aaron Fox would still re-sign here. So, back to today. Rich Paul, the sources saying, telling the Kings, time to move on from De'Aaron. No rush in this situation, number one. We've been outlining that for the majority of the show. You have him under contract until the end of next year. But if the right deal comes along, I think that is the most important part about today. That is the most important. And really, at the end of the day, this is not really news at all. It's common sense. If the right deal was to come along, the Kings are open to moving De'Aaron Fox. Now, the backside of this is more or less the confirmation that De'Aaron's not going to re-sign in Sacramento. So you mix the two of those together, that tells you that De'Aaron Fox's time in Sacramento is limited. The likelihood of having De'Aaron Fox in Sacramento past the end of next season is nil to none. We're talking like Dumb and Dumber. So you're telling me there's a chance, like probably not even that chance. So I kind of view it as good news, to be honest with you. It's good. In a way, Rich Paul has done the Kings a favor. They've taken the decision out of the Kings' hands. They've made the decision for the Kings, and that's the decision that we've debated on this show since Mike Brown was fired, since the podcast with Draymond Green about De'Aaron. Does he fit in the future plans? What this is a classic situation. You know the old parenting sayings, we're not mad at you, we're just disappointed. It's straight out of that book. Kings fans, Kings organization, you can't have your ice cream and eat it too. or however you want to say it. Some people say cake. You can't have your cake and eat it too. It doesn't work to have De'Aaron as a part of this going forward. And if he doesn't want to be a part of it, great. He's doing you a favor. So anybody in here that takes away from this, that they're pissed at De'Aaron, oh, let's go burn his jersey, screw De'Aaron Fox. He didn't have to do this. Rich Paul didn't have to do that. Now, I'm not saying it softens the blow, but at least there's a clear path forward. At least there's not a gray area where it's like, oh, man, the Kings should have never traded Fox. Well, now the Kings have to trade Fox, according to the reports. If there's ever a thing as a good breakup, this might be it, depending on how the Kings do. And Jerry Reynolds was just on this show saying that it will be the biggest trade in Kings history. The biggest trade. And we're still talking Cobb salads. What am I going to do with you guys, man? What am I going to do with some
Hello?
We're talking about trading De'Aaron Fox. And all we're focused on is Cobb salads? What are we doing? What's up, BJ? No, you guys are just getting at me. It's good. You have a question. If you're shopping Fox, shouldn't you sit him for the Philly game so he doesn't get hurt? No, absolutely not. You're trying to win. Do you know how many guys would be out right now? You know how many guys would be out for the next 2 weeks? Just because they're talks or they're part of trade deadline talks, you're going to sit them? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Al, what's up? Players know when they are in trade talks. I have to think it's a distraction. It's also a business, and you still got to go to work. Yeah, it depends on the team. Jerry Reynolds said he doesn't think it's going to be a distraction. You know, the Jimmy Butler situation, much different because De'Aaron's not doing anything that's unprofessional. He's not. Jimmy Butler not showing up on time for the team charter. Jimmy Butler walking out of practice. Those are all considered unprofessional things. De'Aaron, in fact, is doing the exact opposite. De'Aaron's playing hurt right now. And Jerry does not think the fingers affect his value at this time. So give me your takes if you would like to call the show. Talk about the De'Aaron situation. We certainly can continue the conversation. Very nice having Jerry here just a little bit ago. A lot of talk in the chat about you don't know why you don't sit him. Okay, let me spell this out for you. Let me spell it out for you. You have a year and a half left on his contract. If this was 2026, if we were in January of 2026 and the trade deadline was 2 weeks away and De'Aaron's contract was set to expire at the end of this season, now we're having that conversation about sitting him. But the fact that we are still so far out, you don't sit him right now. That would be crazy. If you sit him, then you are sending the message to the rest of the NBA that one, you've got a distraction on your hands. There's an issue in the locker room. And two, that you're willing to sell for pennies on the dollar. If you're preserving an asset like that, no chance. Now, this time next year, different story. Because if he was not to move at that deadline, the deadline of 2026, you know what that means? You lose De'Aaron Fox for nothing. You might be selling De'Aaron Fox for pennies on the dollar if it was that trade deadline. This trade deadline, no. Absolutely not. BJ weighing in, not a Max or a leader. Look, he's a leader in his own way. Everybody's definition of being a leader is different. It really is. If you have to point out the leader of this team on the court, it's really easy. It's Domantas Sabonis. Hands down, Domantas Sabonis is the leader on the court. Go watch a game carefully and look at how much Domas is in people's ears, slapping hands, encouraging, coaching things out, discussing things, giving people comfort, getting them hyped up. That's what Domas does. He is the vocal leader on the court. If you're talking about a leader behind the scenes, I think it's really a combination of Domas and Malik. And the reason that I say Malik, it's for a different reason than Domas. It's a different style of leadership. A lot of times, players will not always speak up. Malik Monk is not afraid to speak up. Malik Monk is that dude behind the scenes that will stand up to the coach on behalf of his teammates. And he's also that guy that keeps things light behind the scenes. When things are heavy, he keeps it light. When things are light, when they should be heavy, he brings the team back to reality. So that's what Malik is. De'Aaron's somewhere in the middle. There's no doubt about that. Somewhere in the middle. That audio drop is horrible. It needs to be blended better. Great. So you're grading my drops now? Thanks, Horse. Thanks, Horse. Appreciate it, Horse. Way to make the show better, Horse. Can't win with him. Can't do it. Won't
Cannot
do it.
win with him. Cannot coach with him. Can't do it.
Locker room's going to be fine. Felix says, thank goodness Fox is leaving. GMV. Look, you guys' chat is moving fast. I appreciate all the messages. Let's try to get to as many questions as possible. I had a show planned, but I'd rather have this conversation with all of you. After all, that's why we're here talking about it. The Kings, by the way, back on the court tomorrow. Going to be getting ready for that one. Fox got benched in the fourth quarter versus the Nets. He did not get benched. Yo. Go look at the box score for the third quarter. Fox did not get benched in the fourth. You know, Fox usually comes out right around between the 4 and 6 minute mark of the first and third quarters. Fox played the entire third quarter against the Nets. So he didn't get benched in the fourth. He got a break. He played beyond his normal break to help bring the team back. Come on. You guys got to be careful with some of this stuff. Got to be careful. You need a combination of a guard and legit forward pick for Fox. No other players involved. Fox for Wembanyama. Yeah, progressive. Yeah. White is worse than Monk. Levine has never played any winning basketball. White is worse than Monk. Interesting. Great. It's an opinion. Again, pieces to the puzzle. Pieces to the puzzle. If you have not learned anything through this Domantas Sabonis era in Sacramento, because we've lived both sides of it, if you have learned nothing, then you need to take this one thing away. Here we go. I'm going Vivek on you. Sacramento, just remember this one thing. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go Vivek.
This is your team.
Of course, I had to play the Vivek sound. Look, the Kings, if you have Sabonis on the floor, if Sabonis is a guy you're playing around, you get the best out of him with a real point guard around him. And the Kings have not had that the last couple of years. It's not De'Aaron Fox's fault. He's never been a true point guard. So that is what you take away from it. Let's bring Alex into the conversation. What's up, Alex?
What's going on right now? How you doing?
Good. How you doing, brother? Good to see you.
Good. Yeah, just got off work. So I'm sure you've been talking about the Fox stuff like crazy. I haven't tuned in. I'm going to go back and re-listen to it. But, I'm kind of unsure about the San Antonio trade because they're not really deep as is. So the pieces that they do have that we might like that kid that's on a rookie contract, Castle, also Vassell and Sohan or whatever his name is.
Mm-hmm.
That's already a lot of depth. You know what I mean? Unless they decide, let's say it happens, they send us 2 out of those 3 guys and picks or whatever. Unless they go crazy next year in free agency, I just feel like it really hampers their depth. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Do you think that does happen or not till next year or whatever?
I don't think he gets traded before the deadline unless the perfect deal comes across the Kings' desk. But before you came on, I've been saying we got to stop just honing in on San Antonio because the Kings have no duty to send him to San Antonio.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a no trade clause. The Kings are going to send him wherever they get the best deal. Look, here's what San Antonio has in terms of draft ammo. They've got Atlanta's unprotected first round picks in 25 and 27. Minnesota's unprotected first round pick in 2031. The Bulls 2025 first round pick, but it's top 10 protected. A 2026 top 8 protected from the Nets. And then they also own their first, their fourth, and New York's first, and the Bucks fifth, or top 5 protected in 26, 27.
Okay.
So they have a decent amount of first round picks, but Jerry was on with us just a little bit ago.
Oh, nice.
He thinks you need an asset, and I agree with him. Yeah, it needs to be a combination of both, but I don't see anything on San Antonio that makes me get out of bed for De'Aaron Fox.
No, I don't either. Like I said, I do like that Castle kid. He's very bouncy. Reminds me of a bigger Monk kind of. But yeah, as you said, even for them though, I don't think it makes a lot of sense unless they have a big free agency plan. Just because their team isn't very depthful. Like if Wembanyama didn't play a game, I mean, I don't know what that team does. So I honestly, like if he did state or he told Paul or whatever, oh, I want to go to that team only, I don't see why San Antonio wouldn't just wait for him to just sign there as a free agent, just because they're not in a position right now or next year to contend or win a title, especially if they have to deplete a roster for Fox and assets, you know?
Yeah, no, I hear you. I agree with you. I think you really probably wait until the draft. I don't think, and here's why, Alex.
Yeah.
There's not a player out there on the market right now that's going to change the Kings season. There's not a single player that you bring, that you bring in here and it's like, oh, now the Kings are going to be a top 5 team, easy in the West. Yeah. So you write it out, you keep on the track that you're getting on, unless that deal again comes across your desk that's good, not just for this year, but for the future plans of this team. And you look at it after the season, but I would say this summer is the cutoff. You cannot, in my opinion, start the season next year with De'Aaron Fox on the roster.
Yeah, and kudos to you because you were talking about this past summer when basically nobody was talking about it. So you gotta give you your flowers. It wasn't even in my mind. It's not a surprise. I'm a big Fox fan. I don't want to trade him still, but obviously you can't let him walk for nothing. And the team has played pretty good under Christie when Fox wasn't in as well. But it's interesting what's happening right now because now everything's out in the bag. Everything's kind of vocal. You're seeing it on news outlets and national outlets. So I'm kind of curious. Do you think he shows up on the injury report tomorrow if no trade happens or whatever? Or what's your thoughts on that?
No, I think everything stays. This news, how do I put this? And this is not targeted just at you.
Yeah.
this was not news to the Kings today. This has been going on for at least a couple of weeks. So nothing changes. And just because you might trade him at the trade deadline does not mean you start sitting him and protecting him. If this was the trade deadline next year and he's still on your team and you've only got a week and a half left to get him off or you lose him for nothing, then you probably are protecting him. But nothing changes. The Kings, there's been whispers about this for about the last 10 days. So it is what it is. They're going to keep doing what they're doing. Now, could he end up on the report? Maybe, but he played pretty well in Brooklyn. Seems like he's going to be good to go.
No, it seems that way too. I wish I was a fly on the wall at the shoot around. I think that shoot around today, right? Or they didn't? Were they off today?
I do not know if they had shoot around or not today. I did not check in on that.
Okay, for sure. And
they wouldn't have shoot around today. I highly doubt that they had practice today. Because they've had kind of maybe they had practice. I'll check in on that.
Okay, no, for sure. I figured if anybody knew, you'd know that. Just because you're pretty dialed in on that team. And I guess I'm kind of curious on the psyche of the team because you said it's been kind of rumbling the last couple of weeks. So I'd like to be a fly on the wall of just kind of thinking what Sabonis, Monk, maybe even DeRozan, who he was happy about coming to SAC to play with Fox, of what they're all kind of thinking, or they just kind of think, hey, it's a business. It is what it is.
Look, I asked Jerry about it, and here's what I know personally. Usually business is completely separated from basketball as long as you're being professional. De'Aaron Fox has not been unprofessional. He's not done the Jimmy Butler stuff where he's walked out of practice, missed team playing. So Jerry does not think it affects the locker room. Could it affect the locker room? Everybody's different, but no, I don't think it's going to affect things whatsoever.
So I hope you're right. The only reason I think otherwise is because, they're professional, but him and Monk have a beyond professional relationship. Dating like friendship wise, going back to college. I just kind of, I might be thinking too much into it, but
let's play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
If you're Malik Monk, you've played better than De'Aaron Fox this year. You're getting more attention than De'Aaron Fox. I mean, you're probably thinking you're going to be just fine. This is now my team.
You know what? And it's funny you say that because I remember we were talking about this. I forgot what game it was, but Fox kept deferring to Monk. I forget what game it was, but Monk was on a heater that game. And we were kind of talking about hey, is he the new alpha? And I don't remember who was like, no, that's just, he was on once they kept feeding him. But obviously, you can't, even the most basic basketball mind is going to notice that Monk and Sabonis have a really good 1-2 pick and roll connection. And they're playing pretty good. I'm wondering if that, again, me just wondering, is that kind of, pushing Fox a little bit like, hey, this team's all right without me. Maybe they don't need me. I don't need them. They have a really good chemistry vibe going on. I still think they're good with him, but again, obviously they have a really good, Sabonis and Monk anyway, have a really good 1-2 punch. As far as Monk being his team, he still makes a lot of mistakes for my liking, a lot of crazy turnovers and things of that nature. But him and Sabonis still have they have a great connection, obviously.
Yeah, no doubt. They absolutely do. I don't think that it's to that level. No, the team's not thinking we're better without him, and I don't think Fox is thinking, they're going to be fine. It's not down to that micro level, but I think what's been clear, and I think that span of games, because to get Grant to do a turnabout on his take, he's always said, if you're without Fox for any period of time, this team's done. They're stick a fork in them. It's not going to work. And to see the team play as well as they had without Fox, to where they went 3-0, they were a plus 17.3 over those 3 games. They had their best win of the season against Boston. I think that's what made this is an assumption. This is not off of any sourcing. This is not off of anything I've heard, but I can only imagine if I'm the front office who has been analyzing this to the nth degree way before Fox got hurt, because you've got such a big decision on your hands, and you've seen this slow burn, and you've seen this budding chemistry with Malik Monk running the point. And then you see the team play that well, then maybe that's why you're hearing we're not willing to move off of Keegan Murray. We're not willing to move off of Keon Ellis, because you haven't seen enough yet. You might say you've seen enough from Keegan. You haven't. He's only in year 3. Keon, this is his second year of getting legitimate minutes in the NBA. You're now really interested to see what those guys can do. And Devin Carter, you're still finding out what he can do. And you look at the contracts attached to them. Malik Monk, he's outperforming his contract easily this second half of the season. And you're like, okay, there's some pieces here. And so in some ways, maybe that gave a breath of air to the front office to say, you know, it's not Fox or bust. It's not. And so once you saw that team play as well together as they did, to me, and I said it on the post-game show, because De'Aaron was out with the fall that happened in the Memphis game, I said, if that's how this team's going to play, if that's who they're going to be with the pace, the defense, to offense, the pick and roll, this is no longer a case of the team trying to fit in with De'Aaron Fox. It is now going to be a case of De'Aaron Fox trying to fit in with them. And I think that's what you saw up until last night with his struggles shooting the ball. And yes, his fingers were involved in that as well. But you are actively seeing a group of professionals beginning to find themselves. And De'Aaron, to a degree, is a little bit of an odd man out because of how he plays the game and the injuries he's dealing with.
So I guess I was going to ask you, and you kind of answered that already. Do you think, I guess as of late, since they've been playing pretty decent as of late, that he's thinking, hey, I'm having a hard time fitting into our new play style or whatever play style we're playing into right now?
No, I don't think so. I don't think he's thinking that. I think he's trying to pick and choose his spots the best he can. I don't think he's thinking that.
Okay. No. And then, so let me ask you one last question. I know you're pretty into the Stockton Kings, right? Yeah. Okay. And obviously, I mean, I don't keep up with them too much. I heard that that one kid, the undrafted rookie, or maybe second round pick, I forget what he is, but he had Isaac Jones. There you go. Had a 40-point game and then another high scoring game. Did you happen to see those or check those out or evaluate those games? Or okay. So based off what those were, I didn't watch it. I have no idea. The way he scored, was that translatable to the NBA level or it wasn't? Was it like a decent game to score those 40, or was it against like a smaller teams, or how would you evaluate those into him possibly doing something on the main roster?
They were a step in the right direction. He was extremely efficient. They were a step in the right direction. It was the step of growth that you want to see from a player like that. Now you want to, instead of seeing 42, 35, now we want to see 32, 31, 30, stacked. And you want to also see, this was really important. Guys at that point in their career, they got to find their spots on the court. They don't really know what their spots are. They think they know what their spots are, but until you're in a game and you're around 4 teammates, that's when you really kind of figure it out. So what I was looking for is he finding his spots on the court? Is he discovering where those were at? And it seems like he's starting to do that. And so that's what I'm kind of seeing. But again, with the production, you got to take it with a grain of salt because it's G League. Devin Carter scored 30 something. Then he had another game that was like 29. So there's promise with Isaac, but it's not going to be promise for this year.
Okay. And you just based on what you've seen, being that you're, pretty connected, you think he's a year, 2 year, 2.5 year away to being a decent product for the main roster?
Hard to say. I got to see the rest of the season, but I'm going to be down there. I'll be watching him closely in another month. So I'll give you a report on it after that.
For sure, man. Appreciate it. And again, that's me grasping at straws because I'm always the advocate for our team is so small. We need size, bigs, athleticism, whatever
His
the case may be.
athleticism's great. His
Yeah.
athleticism's awesome. He's a freaky athlete. He jumps really quick, and that's something you can't teach.
Yeah, well, he even had a little bit of early success early in this season when he was playing. I think he played 3 or 4 games and, was doing pretty decent. But yeah, we'll see, man. Hopefully things go well. I do think you talked about having a breath of fresh air, a little bit ago. I think it gave me a breath of fresh air just because if you would have asked me a month ago, I would have been the same guy saying, "Oh, we're toast. We're done without Fox." I was really thinking that. I can admit that. Definitely.
Like Matt right here. Kings are done.
Yeah. But I don't think we are done, contrary to that comment right there, especially if you do the right trade package or even holding on to him. The team seems decent. They're playing okay. But we lack severely on size. I still don't see why you wouldn't do a Herder trade for something that can help on the front court. But we'll see. We're in 10th right now, and I don't know. We'll see what happens, man. But I appreciate you taking my call.
Yeah, of course. Appreciate you. Thank you, Alex. Alex knocking it out of the park as always. Dude, that's so... Dude, you are hilarious. That is so original. Sacramento. Damn. I've never heard Sacramento, but damn, man. Good stuff. Man, that is good. You watch the shows to have one-liners like that. You watch the show to have a one-liner.
You play to win the game.
Come on, man. You got to do better than that. I'm all for you taking a shot at our city. It's fine. We can play around, but come on, dude. Sacramento. You don't think I haven't heard that a million times on the Jim Rome show? Come on, man. Come on. Come on, Matt. Step it up. Kings aren't done. I'm with you, Karen. Kings are not done whatsoever. A couple things, and then we're going to wrap up. Don't forget, Grant is back at 8 o'clock tonight. Make sure you join him. A lot going on. I will probably join Mr. Napier tonight to talk about what's going on. Also, it won't be just Kings. We'll hit some football. Since Grant has not done that yet, we'll be talking football as well. But join him at 8 o'clock, Open Forum Tuesday night. Again, I will probably hit Grant up and join him on that one as well. One person, by the way, that has just been amazing for Grant and I, that is Max at InVision. He has done wonders for our digital footprint, especially when we have needed anything. When it comes to Grant's website, when it comes to our own personal sites, definitely has been, you need Max, he's there. Trust me. And not only has he helped us immensely, he suggested things that work better or could be better for the sites. And damn it, did they work. So I want to welcome Max and his vision, InVision, to the show, also as a sponsor here on the King's Court. If you're looking to take your online presence to the next level, InVision Web Design specializes in creating stunning custom websites that don't just look great, but deliver real results. And here's the really important thing. Whether you want a sleek or a mobile responsive design, an SEO optimization, or just looking to boost your search rankings or advanced features like e-commerce integration, InVision Web Design has got you covered, just like they've had Grant and I covered. They're dedicated to helping businesses like yours stand out online and attract more customers. Certainly that has happened in our case, and I'm sure Max can make that happen for you. In fact, give Max a call today, right there, 916-905-4293. You can scan the QR code and you can get a free consultation. Book that with Max. You can also hit him up at InVisionWebDesigns.com. That is InVision, bringing your vision to life. Give them a call for your free free consultation. Love Max and Envision. Awesome company. So huge thanks to them for also sponsoring today's King's Court. So we've got Grant at 8. We're going to close on this note because Alex brought it up. For anybody kind of thinking that De'Aaron Fox is going to be the piece that gets the Kevin Huerter and Trey Lyles trade over the finish line, let's kind of drop that thought. These are separate trades. These are separate deals. Now, could they be parlayed together and combined if it was a big, massive deal and it was players that all the Kings wanted? What's up, Patrick? How you doing, buddy? And yeah, thanks to Max. He has done great stuff for us. Could there be a deal? Yes, but you need to think of those as two different transactions. And the other important thing to remember, there's no rush to get De'Aaron Fox traded. None whatsoever. Bro, there is only one Ryan in Sacktown bobblehead, and I can promise you don't want it. In fact, if you want it, hit me up. I'll give it to you. It's really weird having your own bobblehead, even though it was given to me as a present by my brother, who I love greatly, and my sister-in-law. It's just weird having your own bobblehead. It's kind of weird, I'm not going to lie. A really good shoe. Well, what's a really good shoe? What did I do? Anyways, all right, back to what I was saying about these trades. They're going to be separate things. And the Kings, there's no rush whatsoever to trade De'Aaron Fox. No, you're not going to sit De'Aaron Fox. You're not going to protect him. De'Aaron Fox, in some ways, and I've said this all show, Rich Paul, De'Aaron, they've done the Kings a favor. They've taken this decision out of the Kings' court, pun intended, right? This was the decision we've all been fighting over, stewing over. Could things change? Certainly. Maybe the Kings go on a run. Maybe they get a different player. And now this is the place for De'Aaron. Maybe De'Aaron's game completely flips on its head. And he really becomes that guy that we've seen in flashes. Who knows? Anything's possible. Nothing's written in stone at this point. But what I do know is at least there's a destination. We see a destination. It's not oh, crap. The Kings lost Fox for nothing. It could happen, but it's more unlikely. Oh, the Kings made the wrong decision by trading Fox. They should have tried to re-sign him. All that's out the window. At least everybody's communicating and on the same pages. I would much rather have Rich Paul sending that note to the Kings than him and De'Aaron scheming behind the Kings' back and gaslighting the Kings about wanting to stay. You know, yeah. We're gonna talk. We're gonna talk extension over the summer. You know, we still want the team to improve. They're not gaslighting them. De'Aaron wants to be moved. Great. Okay, well, now the Kings are in the power position. Now the proverbial hourglass starts. You've tipped it over. You have exactly 1 year from right now to trade De'Aaron Fox. You wait for the right deal. You don't go out. You don't panic. De'Aaron's going to be professional. At least he's been professional up until this point. But at least we know. Sometimes it's better to know. So nothing to hang your head about. Yes, are we going to be sad? Has Fox had some great times in Sacktown? Absolutely. Absolutely he has. But at the end of the day, you still got Kings basketball that matters, that gets back underway tomorrow in Philadelphia. By the way, for that one, Paul George already ruled out. And obviously no Joel Embiid in that one either. So a game that the Kings should definitely win. Nobody on the Kings injury report as we sit today. So the Kings should be rolling in with full health, but the clock has started. Now you wait for the best deal. We'll see what happens. If you are just joining the show, we had Jerry Reynolds on at the beginning. Go back and listen to it. Incredible conversation with him. Huge thanks to Jerry for joining us. Huge thanks to all of you for joining the show today. We will be back tonight at 8 o'clock, open forum with Napes. Lot to talk about. here in Sacktown. I'll probably join Grant. No promises, but Grant will for sure be here talking the De'Aaron Fox news, also talking NFL football and whatever you want to talk about. We'll open up the phones to you all. Make it a great rest of the day. Coach Christie, break us down, yo. Coach, where you at? Coach, come here.
That's big time shit. Together on three, y'all. 1, 2, 3. Together.
Did you hear that? Coach Christie said that's big time shit. It's a good show, right? Having Jerry Reynolds. Hell yeah. Thanks, Coach. Good job. Go Kings. Light the damn beam.
Light the beam. Light it.
Court is dismissed.